just want to welcome everybody. This is our first team meeting of 2022, and it's still in January, so we can still talk about wishing everybody everything for the best. It is absolutely awesome to see everybody. I've spent quite a few days in the office this week. It's been amazing to see people. And, everyone's saying to me, well, the problem with being in the office is you don't get work done. You do. We've got to forget about the fact that work is just sitting in front of your computer. It's awesome to talk to people, to catch up on different projects, to understand what everybody's doing. We are going to talk about the office a bit later. But before we do that, the grad program also kicked off, which we were very, very excited about. Unfortunately, we had one particular candidate who didn't quite make it. He did check all of the boxes, but then when he went to Deborah for the final interview, she felt that his standard of dad jokes just wasn't good enough for synthesis. So what we thought to do maybe is just, because we felt bad, you know what I mean? And with that kind of a company. So yes, he was hungry, he was humble, he was smart, but his dad jokes sucked. So what we thought is, because we're not that kind of a company, we would invite him just to speak to us this morning at the team meeting. So without further ado, Nik Rabinowitz, good morning. Where are you?
Good morning, Howie. How's it?
Excellent, thank you.
Thanks, Jake. One clap from one guy in the office. And actually 3 claps. It's amazing. That's what I've gotten in the last few years. Thank you, Summer. You look very summery. That is my dad joke for the morning. Actually, I've got a couple more, but hello to everybody. Synthesians, synthesizers, synthonians. I don't know what it's called. Synthespians. It is wonderful. Thank you for the invitation to be here on this auspicious occasion, which I don't know if you know, it's actually, today is day 711-67 of lockdown level 1. I saw that on SABC3 in the top corner last night. And for the new graduates, how many of these people are there, Howard? Quite a lot of them?
Yeah.
New grads. I believe they're quite nervous to be here. So I wanted to say welcome to all of you to Friday Coffee. I believe this is called Friday Coffee. Which is, in case you're wondering how it works, it's basically just a safe space for IT introverts to come together and mute themselves. The only people you'll hear speak are the extroverts. I feel like the introverts, and there are lots, let's be honest, there's probably quite a lot on this call. You guys have really been living your best lives during the last 2 years. And I don't imagine, Howard, I know you say how lovely it is at the office. None of them are coming back.
No, we can't. They just want to stay home and code.
You can try whatever you like. None of them. I mean, maybe I've heard that Stein Basson and Maria Neetling can be coaxed back with a braai. But that Stein says, yeah, absolutely. So also a little bit of housekeeping. I don't know if you wished Sharon happy birthday. Sharon, well done for celebrating your 2nd birthday of the apocalypse. That's a great achievement. Also, I'd like to announce that there will be no quiz this morning because apparently Marcin, I don't know how you pronounce Wojcik, Marcin Wojcik is on the call, so there'll be no quiz. That would be unfair, so that we've cancelled the quiz for this morning. And also, grads, apparently, Howard, you mentioned this is a tradition to kick the meeting off with a dad joke, and normally it's Driekus van der Walt and Nassim Ahmad who come together, build bridges, and kick these meetings off with a dad joke. Summer, would you like me to do that instead of them today?
You can take the wheel.
But so to kick things off, where this is your dad joke for the morning. New graduates, can you guess, where do Driekus and Nassim store all their nerdy dad jokes? You can answer in the chat. None of you will get the answer to this question. I know we have some highly intelligent people, but where do Driekus and Nassim store all their nerdy dad jokes? The answer is in a database. Now, I thought that you would quite like that one. And Taylor has just given me a blank stare. I don't know if that's because she's playing Candy Crush or what. Taylor, this is not Netflix. I can see you as well. And she's in the office as well. That's great. So just to introduce myself to the Gen Zs who may not be familiar with me, I'm a stand-up comedian. I've been doing stand-up for the last 20 odd years, and I've been doing sit-down for the last 2 years. It was never my dream to be a sit-down online comedian. I actually studied business science. Can you believe that, Michael Shapiro? Back in the 90s, I studied business science, which was a problem for me because unlike you, I didn't get a distinction for mathematics at King David High School in 1990. I actually went to a Waldorf school where we, Taylor, I feel like I'm interrupting you from work, but have you heard of the Waldorf school in Bryanston? I went to a Waldorf school. They used to call us Aldorf, but we weren't. It's just that we were not very good at maths and stats. In fact, we only did maths about twice, Michael Shapiro. And it wasn't normal maths. It wasn't the maths you did at King David High School, Victory Park. It was, I don't know if you were at Victory Park. You look like you went to Victory Park. But we did maths lit, Taylor. I'm not saying the maths was lit, grads. I'm not saying the maths was lit. I'm saying it was literacy, story sums, but with a Waldorf sort of flavor, Summer, like if one free spirit meets another free spirit, how much organic kale would they have to plant outside their off-the-grid mountain retreat cob house while simultaneously rubbing their corduroy pants together to produce sufficient kinetic energy to heat all of the lentils in Cape Town? And I never really worked out the answer to all of that, but I couldn't. We did normal maths as well, obviously long division. I remember that I couldn't do long division, so I used to copy from Peter Ainsley, which is a problem because to this day I can't divide a thing unless Peter Ainsley's with me, which is a problem also, Tom, was because he emigrated to Berlin during lockdown. And anyway, when I got to Michael Shapiro, when I got to UCT first year maths and stats, I was getting a combined aggregate of 28%, and I decided at the final exam not to deregister. I would write the exam, but I would pick the most intelligent looking Chinese guy with the thickest possible glasses, Howard Feldman, and I sat down next to that guy and copied the entire maths and stats papers from him, Taylor. But crucially, I can't tell you what the probabilities are, ComSci people. I can't tell you what the probabilities are of copying an entire maths and stats paper and still failing, but that is what happened. In fact, it was worse. We both failed. And the moral of that story is don't racially profile the person you're about to copy from, because that Chinese guy turned out to be Taiwanese. So I'm just saying, guys, that I just think that most of us end up in jobs that we didn't really, let's be honest, we didn't really dream of doing as a kid. You know, you ask a kid what they want to be when they grow up, they don't tell you business strategist, market analyst, commodities trader, keynote speaker, etc. You know, Howie, you never wanted to be Howard Feldman, business strategist, commodities trader, keynote speaker, author, entrepreneur, head of marketing and people.
I wanted to be a pole vaulter.
A pole vaulter. Did you hear about at the last Olympics, that very tall German man who was walking through the Olympic Village, and they said, "Excuse me, are you a pole vaulter?" And he said, "Nine." But how did you know my name was Walter? Anyway, that's another dad joke for you. Howard Feldman, for the younger people, didn't want to be a Howard Feldman. He wanted to be a different Howard. He wanted to be Howard. He wanted to be Howard Stern, or the novelist Howard Jacobson, or the business magnate, investor, engineer, film director, philanthropist, and record-setting pilot Howard Hughes. And also, young grads, I don't know if you know this, but Howard is an expert in body language, which I think must have been terrifying for most of you, being on Teams calls with him throughout the pandemic, especially if you had a 2-year-old making a poo under your desk while trying to concentrate, which is what happened to me during a show. I was like, "What are you doing?" She said, "Shh, I'm pooing." Anyway, so also, for those of you who don't know who Howard is, tune into his Morning Mayhem show on Chai FM, which is, if you've never heard of Chai FM, it's easy listening for Jews and non-Jews, but especially Jews, which is why I like to call it Chaifelt FM. So, Howie, it's good to see you. And yeah, as I was saying, you know, we end up in jobs that maybe weren't your dream job. Summer, I don't know what your dream. I don't know if your dream was to end up at the. I don't know where you are. Reception. I saw you answering calls. I don't know if this was your dream job as a 4-year-old. But like, take Jake Shepherd. There's Jake Shepherd sitting. He looks like he's sitting in. I don't know. It's the boardroom over there. Jake, you never dreamt of becoming a technical director as a kid, while you were tinkering around on your Commodore VIC-20. You just wanted to be fluent in assembly language. summer was Jake's dream. He wanted to be fluent in assembly language. And I don't know what assembly language is, but I know that I went to a Christian school. And so assembly language was, if you don't believe in Jesus, you're going to detention, which is where I spent many hours as a kid until we got permission. As the Jewish kids, we got permission to sit out the first 20 minutes of assembly. And then they would cue us in with drums, and then the headmaster would shout, "Bring in the Jews," which was confusing for me because there was only one of us at the time. Michael Shapiro. This guy never wanted to be a managing director. After he got colors for rugby and mathematics at King David in 1990, he just dreamt of representing South Africa at the Jewish Olympics in 1993. Did you go to the Jewish Olympics in 1993, Michael?
No, I was injured.
You were injured, but that was your dream. You wanted to win gold at the 1993 Jewish Olympics. Summer, I don't know if you're familiar with the Jewish Olympics. You should be. This quite a large Jewish contingent. It's basically the Maccabi Games. Exactly. It's like they take the top Jewish men and sportswomen from all over the world, and then those 9 people play sport for like a week. It's like the Special Olympics, but with more accountants and software engineers. Anyway. And Michael Shapiro nearly won gold for the Jew box. That was the Jew box. That was the Jewish rugby springboks, the Jew box, which sounds like the Jewish boxers, but that was banned in the early 80s. The Jewish boxing Olympics was banned because somebody actually stalked their son to the games. And then when they announced him, this is famous, when they announced him in the blue corner, world heavyweight champion of Glen Hazel, Jared Mofsowitz. His mother ran in saying, "Throw in the towel immediately. This is bullshit. You should have gone into finance. This is all because you're dating a shiksa." Summer, you'll have to Google that. I don't have time to explain all of the Jewish jokes. So also, I don't know if Daryl Govender is here, but Daryl Govender never wanted to be head of cloud services at Hillcrest High. He just wanted to be a computer games programmer or a men's health model. I don't know, Summer, if you've had a look at Daryl. A rumor has it that he is so hot, Taylor, that Daryl Govender is so hot that his colleagues have had to overclock their PC fans. That's a special joke that I wrote especially for you guys, Summer, and it got nothing from you. And then, of course, Stein Basson, who never wanted to be a head of operations. The only operation he wanted to be head of was a mealie farm outside Welkom. I don't know if that's true or not, Stein. I'm just guessing from your profile picture on LinkedIn. But you seem to have gone on a diet during lockdown and lost a lot of hair. Have you looked into the hair transplant things? I've got a doctor in Cape Town called Larry Gershowitz. He told me he would give me a free hair transplant. He said, "Nick, if you give me a plug, I'll give you the plugs." And I said, "That's a cuck joke." But he said, "It's a great deal because they cost about 60 grand, but you can come back looking like a shag carpet from the 1970s, which is confusing, Summer, because there was no shagging going on those carpets. They were made from mohair and they were very itchy. They were made from mohair and resentment, actually. They were very itchy on the back. But Stein, I know from your LinkedIn profile that you were recognized from an early age as someone with an ability to troubleshoot complex scenarios. As a kid, you knew how to divide 2 chappies between 3 people and figure out how to play a game of shirts and skins rugby when no one was wearing shirts or shoes. So that's very impressive. And your wife is a vet, so you will know how to identify a Jewish dog from a non-Jewish dog in Johannesburg. If you go to Glen Hazel, you will hear that the Jewish dogs, Summer, are exhausted. They always sound like this. Woof, woof. I actually just can't for another woof. Whereas if you go to Fordsburg, Muslim dogs sound more like woof, woof, woofa. And sometimes there's a cat next door going meow shala. And then if you go to Soweto, like I did once for a Chisa Nyama, before COVID, when the Dutch tourists, Tom Wells, when the Dutch girls would come in with the blonde hair freshly braided that morning, Zulu dogs would always be shocked and surprised. Standing on the corner, they would go, "How, how, how, how," which was also interesting. I forget. Oh yes, the topic was you hear this might not be your dream job. I'm not here to motivate you to get to your dream. Motivation doesn't last long. That's why they picked a comedian today, because motivation doesn't last long, but you will remember a bad joke forever. But I'm just saying, be appreciative for the job you're in, Summer, even if it's like Maria Nietling. Take Maria Nietling. Okay, never wanted to be head of customer success and a specialist in Java development, computational intelligence implementations, optimization algorithms, and classifier algorithms. This guy from the age of 4, he just wanted to be the astronomer royal based at Cambridge University with his head in the interstellar clouds. He didn't want to be married with 3 kids and the head of... Take this guy, Chart du Plessis. Never wanted to be a programming evangelist, or the head of digital and emerging technology. He wanted to be a professor of taxonomy at the University of Sao Paulo in Brazil, spending his days roaming the Amazon jungle, naming, describing, and classifying as yet undiscovered organisms, including obscure plants, animals, and microorganisms. And now he's discovering and classifying as yet undiscovered technologies and the ways that people will somehow use them for porn. It wasn't his dream as a child. And here he look at Keith Milner. Keith, I don't know if Keith, I saw Keith somewhere here. This guy doesn't want to be an industry domain focus and alignment expert. He didn't even want to be a specialist kicking coach for the Western Province Rugby. He just wanted to play fly half for the Springboks. That has been his dream since like the age of 4. And I got to tell you, it was my dream as well. Jake, I don't know if you're taking notes on this talk now or what exactly you're doing, but I can tell you, there's Keith. He's coming on now. Keith, I also, from the age of about 12, I wanted to become an Afrikaans rugby player. That was my dream. And I actually picked up a rugby ball at the age of 12 on a horse paddock on the farm I grew up on, because I was an only child, Summer. I was an only child, and I used to play rugby on my own. And I used to play with myself. I used to play with myself a lot as a result, which really prepared me for lockdown level 5, where I would self-isolate from my family in the toilet for many hours at a time. And I would pick up a rugby ball. And I'll never forget the first time I did it. I was like, Das Boetie Ban Ferreira. That means there's Boetie Ban Ferreira. I wanted to be him, Keith Milner. I wanted to be Boetie Ban Ferreira. Picked up the ball. Das Boetie Ban Ferreira. Wag vir die bal. He's waiting for the ball. Krijg vir die bal. Gee die bal vir homself. Gee die bal weer vir homself. Gee die bal weer vir homself. Gee die bal weer vir homself. Gave the ball to himself and to himself again and to himself again and to himself again. Laat die bal van voor. Drop the ball voor. Referee sê speel aan. Tel die bal weer op. Hardloop heel veel stuk en druk hom in die hoekie in the hockey. What a 3. What a free. And I was unbeaten for about 12 years. And then you take Luke, this guy, Luke Machowski, never wanted to be a specialist product architect. This guy, his whole life just wanted to be an introvert. I can imagine Luke Machowski telling his parents at a young age, I'm sorry, mom and dad, I can't go outside. I'm too good at computers. And so he entered a field where he could become a professional introvert. And live his best life working remotely from the comfort of his man cave with the freedom to work on a PhD in the field of nano version control in his spare time. And that's great. You follow that dream, Luke. You follow that specialist product architect dream. My mom was going to be an architect, and then she dropped out. And Summer, she dropped out because of me. She dropped out in 5th year. Basically, my parents got married. And then, they didn't intend to get married, but my mom discovered she was pregnant in Pietermaritzburg, which is why she's never been back, because she's antenatal. That's another dad joke for you guys. And then she came back to Cape Town, and I was born in her 5th year. She dropped out, and basically the moral of the story, Summer, is that my mom pulled out because my dad didn't. And I just feel like, Summer, that you needed to hear that. That's the only reason you were on this call. It could be other people as well. Could be that guy there. I don't know who. Somebody here needed to hear that that message. Anyway, so I just wanted to say, Pierre Orel. I don't know how you pronounce that. Pierre Orel. This guy never wanted to be a cryptography product manager. I was looking at his LinkedIn profile, and I know for sure this guy wanted to be the mathematician turned wartime code breaker and crypt analyst Alan Turing, but played by Benedict Cumberbatch because he's handsomer, crunching Hitler's famous military codes and in the process defeating Nazis and cyber hackers all over the universe. So Pierre, well done. And also, I read your thesis on the topic of cybercrime, which I always assume meant stealing a robot, but apparently it's more complicated than that. And then I also wanted to mention Almarie Grant, who never wanted to be Gen Z's academy people. I don't know if she's head of your academy, but this woman never wanted to be head of an academy, any academy. She wanted to be the principal ballerina at the Bolshoi after studying at the Pro Art High School for Art, Ballet, Music and Drama in 1991. So I'm just saying, people are here that are in jobs. This is not necessary. Let's take Deborah Miller, for example. She never wanted to be a headhunter. After she got her honors in clinical psychology, she thought, why choose between being a head shrinker and a headhunter when I can do both? And there she is doing both. Darren Buckhat Buck, never wanted to be a cloud thought leader. Okay, I used to want to be I was a cloud thought leader in the early 2000s. I used to lie on my friend's couch, get high, look up at the clouds, and think profound thoughts. Hashtag cloud thought leader. I'm sure it's more complicated than that. Gareth, I don't know if we've got finance on the call, but Gareth never wanted to be the commercial FD, whatever he is, of this chartered accountant. He just wanted to be the mythical inventor of blockchain, Satoshi Nakamoto. If you look at his LinkedIn profile, he even looks a bit Japanese. So I'm just saying, it's also never too late to pivot, Gareth. If you're in a job, if you're in this job here, especially if you're an accountant, it's never too late to pivot, okay? I studied accounts 1. It was the best 3 years of my time at UCT. And in fact, I still use it to discipline my eldest son. He's 12, and sometimes I give him a clap before he's naughty. Now, Gareth, would that be provision or accrual, or Summer, is it just cruel? It's hard to say, but my dad was an accountant until he was 40, Gareth, and then he went to the GP and he said, you must give up accountancy, it's giving you a rash. And then he did, and he became a potter. But that's another story for another day. Carl Singleton, I saw you here somewhere. Carl never wanted to be the head of business development and commercial, whatever's. Like Chad Epstein, Carl's dream from a young age was to live in Cape Town. Hashtag rapid mass migration. And then very interestingly, Suanne Heiser, guys. This woman is phenomenal. She never wanted to be the general manager of this company or whatever she does now. She wanted to be a metaphysician, examining the fundamental nature of reality, applying her mind every day to the relationship between matter and reality, between matter and substance, between probability and reality. And here she ends up having to manage Umukhus. So just think about people. Think about what their dreams were, how their dreams were shattered, that they are here now, but they are still contributing. And then, of course, Kim Furman. I don't want to leave you out, Kim, because Kim never wanted to be a marketing manager. She wanted to be president of the Wits Golden Key Society. Summer, have you heard of the Wits Golden Key Society? That's what Kim dreamt of as a young child, to be head of the Wits Golden Key Society, which is, contrary to popular belief, not a students' swingers club, the Golden Key Society. But it's a major achievement to have been there. And of course, Tom Wells, judging by your haircuts, I don't think you wanted to be, I don't know what your job is, Chief Disruption Officer, but I think you wanted to just be part of a boy band in the 90s. And it's great that you've moved also to the Netherlands, that South Africa is colonizing, that we are colonizing the Dutch. Colonization in reverse. I think that's fantastic what you're doing. There we go. Look at that amazing Tom Wells. Did you know, Tom Wells, have you been to a spa in Holland? Have you been to a spa yet? Did you notice that there are spas in Holland because it's actually a Dutch? My whole life I thought Spar, this is a South African company, but it's actually Dutch. DESPAR is an acronym, a Dutch acronym for which means through United Cooperation, Summer, everybody regularly. I learned Dutch during the 2010 World Cup. I can say things in Dutch like Van Persie aan de bal, prachtige voorzet. Bij de tweede paal klaasje aan Huntelaar. Hij legt de bal terug naar de Mechelen op Schneider. Wesley Schneider, verwoestende granaat. Goal! Ja, wat doen we? Which means I'll have another little beer and one of the pancakes and the waffles. And so anyway, in conclusion, guys, because you have to get on to more serious matters, let's be grateful. It may not be our dream to be where we are, but let's be grateful for what we have, and don't worry too much, Summer, about getting to wherever you think you should be. Where you are is great. There is no there. As somebody said, we are so focused on getting there, but Stein Basson, what if there is no there when we get there? So let's just be grateful for where we are. You guys, you kept your jobs during the pandemic. You're in good things. You could have been, James, you could have been a Jehovah's Witness during the pandemic. Imagine how cucked that would have been. You knew everyone was home, but still weren't allowed to, spreading the good news via WhatsApp. That's not an easy task. So let's just be grateful for let's stay positive, not just, obviously not for COVID. Deborah Miller, I've been on for 25 minutes, which means it's time for your next COVID test. I don't want to say this is a quote from Deborah, but it's been overheard in the office. Somebody recently said, I'm not a snob or anything. I just think the organic PCRs from Zara are much more accurate than the Dis-Chem ones. I'm not saying that was you, Deborah, but I'm saying it could have been you. So anyway, guys, just to say,
Deborah,
Howard.
It's not fair though, say Deborah.
Yeah, and Gareth, is Gareth here, Howard? I don't know if Gareth's
here. Deborah's here.
Yeah, I just wanted to say
Gareth
Gareth, because
is here.
He's quite hectic with the spend and everything. So if you feel like I provided value this morning, Gareth, I'm not saying I need tips. I don't need any tips. I'm just saying, Pierre, if Pierre could just hack my Vitality data and just make me a platinum member, that would be great, because lockdown hit me really hard in that department. I went from doing like 10,000 steps a day to like 10,000 steps a year. And that was only when I remembered to strap the Fitbit to the dog or the creepy crawlies. I'm just saying that would be appreciated. And for those of you who suffer from anxiety, Belinda, I'm not just talking to you, guys, the thing about worry is that worrying is a biological, emotional, psychological response to what is not happening now. So the only thing we need to worry about, according to Archana Oracle, is artificial intelligence. That's the only thing. AI is the only thing we need to worry about. And I'm not even sure we should be worrying too much about AI. I think it's the hardy-does we should be more worried about, because the hardy-does, I think, are going to take over the world. Have you seen how crafty these things are? And they're just infesting every. You can't be on a Teams call or a Zoom call any time now without at least hearing one during the course of the thing. And that, I don't know if you're familiar with why that is. Stain Basson, please don't think of taking up mountain biking. This is the reason we have an infestation of hardy-does, is because of mountain biking and the lycra that middle-aged men insist on wearing. And then they come into coffee shops and go, "Can I sit opposite you and your kids while I sit on a flat white and show the kids my genitals?" It's not necessary, okay? And also, the lycra is made in these factories that run off diesel and panda blood and Brazilian rainforest and silkworms. Genetically modified silkworms. That's how come they're so stretchy. The lycra is so stretchy. It's the genetically modified silkworms, and that population is out of control. And the hardy-does are gorging themselves on silkworms, which is why the hardy-dog population is expanding. And we can't kill them fast enough because we don't have enough wind farms. That's the only thing that kills them. The giant wind farm. They fly in, but not all of the. Only stupid hardy-dogs will fly into a wind farm. A clever hardy-dog will think, no. Did you see what happened yesterday to Biff and Chuck and Sipho? And then they survive. They say, "I'm not flying today." And then they survive, Taylor. They survive and they hook up with other clever hardy-dogs, and then they mate and they produce baby clever hardy-dogs. And before you know it, we are evolving a master race of mastermind hardy-dog. And you see the hardy-dog in the garden when they do that thing, when they're pretending to look for worms, right? They go over there, but then they're just waiting for you to leave the sliding door open, because they want to hack their way in with those beaks. And then eventually they'll hack 5-10 years time, they will evolve, and then they'll hack their way into the fridge and gorge themselves summer on the organic worms that you bought from Woolies that morning because you've gone plant-based in 2032. And then take another 10 years, they will be into your laptops, Stain Basson, they will be in there, into our laptops, hacking their way in. Then they will take over from us, Jake. They will take over from humanity. And then it'll be AI. It'll be AI, Archana, it'll be AI against the hardy-does. And James, I think you know this, you've already guessed that the hardy-does will win that battle. And then because obviously they unlike us, unlike humans, they don't waste their time on porn because they don't have hands. So there would be no point in that. So I'm just saying it's all going to be okay, guys. And if you are feeling down, Tom Wells, you're in another country there with the Dutch and all of that, and it's quite hectic. And there are days when you miss home and stuff like that, Tom Wells. And on those days, it's good to have a mental health practice. That is very important. You're there in another country and whatever. I don't know what it is. I don't see you doing yoga. I don't see breathing. I don't see holotropic breathing. Maybe a bit of plant medicine. But I'm just saying, if you need something else, Tom Wells, then go and rewatch the 2019 Rugby World Cup final, but with the Xhosa commentary. There's a guy called Kawunda Ntunja, Stain Basson, and I noticed there's a few. Maria Nietling. These guys all have surnames as their first names, which is actually... It's actually very uncomfortable, Stain, because we never know when we're on a first name basis with you guys. So if you could just look into that as well from an HR perspective. But I'm just saying that Afrikaans guys always like 5 or 6 middle names. And this guy, he memorized, this commentator memorized all of them. He knew like 602 Afrikaans middle names for the entire Springbok squad at the 2019 Rugby World Cup. Google it after this, Tom Wells, and go and rewatch just the first 5 minutes of the second half. the commentator, he comes on. This will make you feel much better living in the Netherlands. He comes on in the second half. He's like, Zimbindamo Madoraba Pula Pulislape Hokahana Stadium, Tokyo, Japanama Pokoboko, Batlala Nama Lions, Row, Quick World Cup follows some Colin Bloller referee started a Pablo Bumble fly from a Pokoboko, who fly off from a Pokoboko, who fly from a Pokoboko, Michael Shapiro. No, I'm joking. Who fly off from a Pokoboko, Henry Francois Gerhardus Liebenberg van Seilstein Pollard. O Henry Pollard to give Kabul ball a pezzul. That's an up and under. Pezzul, chase the ball. Nangu 50 clack. O 50 clack was crammer from a pokeball speedo in wearing a very small speedo. O finding the hashing like a small pony with a mane. Nangu 50 clack, look on your arm. Malcolm Mark. Direct my pimpi. O coming on my and at that moment, Tom Wells, you'll just feel the goosebumps. But the commentator at that moment, he was so overcome with emotion, he ran out of words. Summer de Cruz. He ran out of words, and all he could remember was 5 Xhosa words for champagne, and he just let them fly. Likasu, yibabli, shampapo, shampizni, yintaditlatlazayo. And then Tom Wells, you'll just feel much better about being in Amsterdam, and everything will be good. Everything will be good. By the way, before I go, Howard, do you know the Dutch dogs don't bark with an English accent? And I know this from reading Tintin in Dutch. Tom Wells. Stroopy, the dog, goes vof vof. But some of the Krush, as you know, in Portuguese, he goes joão joão. But in Mandarin, he goes wang wang. But in German, he goes wow wow, which is terrifying for a lot of people on this call. But and obviously in South Africa, he goes how how. But then, as I mentioned earlier, but then I think I forgot the end of that joke. But anyway, Howard, any closing remarks?
Yeah.
I think
we're going to have to get you out. It's not going to be easy, but because I don't know how we're going to move on now to a normal meeting. I think we might as well just tank it and all actually have some of what you've been eating or drinking or smoking because the day's only going to go downhill. Nik Rabinowitz, you're an absolute genius and well done. Thank you.
Lovely, guys. Thanks for having me.
It was absolutely awesome. Thank you.
Thanks,
have a good
Nik.
time, everyone.
Thanks for starting off.
Summer de Cruz. Uma casa portuguesa, fica bem. Pau Vinro. João.
Se fala.
Fala português.
Shabbat shalom, Nik.